everybody, to The Subject is Moot, where everything we discuss is debatable. I am Dom, and across from me is...
Well, technically I'm next to you, Dom, but I'm still Mike.
You are next to me, and it's nice to have you here. And a special thanks to Vinny and Quiz, the producers of the podcast. Don't forget our email address for you to write in your opinion or comments or anything you'd like to talk about. The subject is moot@yahoo.com. And that's The Subject is Moot, all one word, no underscores, no dots or anything. The subject is moot@yahoo.com.
Right in.
Right in. In fact, we're going to talk about that because we had some writers who wrote in, and we're going to definitely bring them up and mention them. But make sure you stay to the end of the show, too, where you find out our artist of the podcast, as well as the answers to the trivia questions that we will ask in a little while. So, Mike, are you ready? How are you today?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. It's Friday.
It is Friday.
And that's every Friday is good.
Always.
Before we start, I'd like to clarify a point that I made during our last podcast. Our last podcast was about Van Halen and the great debate between Roth and Hagar. And I mentioned in that little segment about the contract riders that the crew members may have been electrocuted. Well, they weren't electrocuted. They may not. Well, I said they may have been. They weren't. They were almost electrocuted. So I just want to clarify that they were almost electrocuted, and that's why the contract riders are there. But when you go back and you edit, sometimes you pick up stuff that you said, and you're like, man, I shouldn't have said it that way, or I shouldn't have said that. But so I caught that, and I just wanted to clarify that. So as I mentioned before, we had some writers who wrote in, and because of that, we're now adding a segment to the show called Your Moot Point. And it's basically dedicated to the writers and the listeners who basically write in. And so I'd like to mention some of the writers who wrote in, and the first one is Stu from Connecticut. He wrote in a couple of things, but the first thing, before I get into some of the things that he mentioned, the first thing he talked about, Mike, was during our last podcast, during the Roth and Hagar debate, he was a little disappointed. He was a little disappointed.
Why was that, Dominic?
Well, let me get into it. Let me delve into it here now. He was a little disappointed because you didn't pick either Roth or Hagar. You played the fence. So I'm asking you, would you like to at least, I think Stu deserves a little bit of a response by you to I guess support your decision to play the fence and not pick. I know why you did, and I'm going to actually add a comment, but I'd like to hear from you, and I'm sure Stu would also.
Well, howdy, Stu. Yeah, I guess me playing the fence was basically I kind of got into Van Halen at a time where Hagar was at the helm, but I kind of just delved right into the Van Halen catalog. So for me, it was like I wasn't listening to Van Halen when it was just Roth, or I got on board when it was Hagar. But as playing guitar at the time, I was listening to a lot of early Van Halen with Roth, and I was also listening to more updated Van Halen with Hagar. And I grew to like them the same because I was listening to them primarily for Eddie Van Halen. And, to me, it's all about Van Halen. For me, it still is kind of. There's things I love about the Roth era, and there's things I love about the Hagar era evenly. So it's hard for me to that's why I have to play the fence on it, because at the time I got into them, I was basically just inundated myself on all Van Halen. It wasn't like I was listening to them in the 80s when it was Roth, and I had to deal with the changeover when Hagar came in. So that's pretty much why I feel like I'm right dead in the middle there between the two of them, because I love both ends of the material the same.
Well, look, and that's why it's a moot point, really. When you talk about Van Halen and Roth and Hagar, the bodies of work by the two of them are just incredible. I think Roth paved the way for a lot of bands down the road. Even though Hagar was a better songwriter and vocalist, you can't deny what Roth did during his tenure with Van Halen, before and even after Hagar. So, that's why I picked it, 51-50 in favor of Hagar. So yeah, you like that, huh? I was a little tired after I thought of that. Thank God I was sitting down. So, Stu, I hope that satisfies you.
Thanks for writing in, Stu.
Yes.
And again, it comes down to Eddie for me. That's kind of why because Eddie's there on both ends, so.
And that's the thing, and that's why I think even in my point I said, I listen to Van Halen for Eddie and for Van Halen. I don't really, unless you say, hey, well, that's Roth or that's Hagar, I just listen to Van Halen.
I agree with that one. That's a good one.
And it depends on what album I want to hear at the time.
That's a good point.
Stu, you also mentioned you'd like to know our opinion on how radio overplays music. And that's a very, very good topic. Gar from Staten Island wrote in.
Good old Gar.
He wrote in a bunch of topics as well. One of them, which we will incorporate in today's podcast, it's about hard copy versus digital copy. MP3s of music.
That's a sore subject with me.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we're
Easy.
Easy. I'm going to tread lightly. So, Stu and Gar, thanks for your topics. Just so you know, Mike and I, we don't just wing it and say, okay, well, what are we going to talk about this time? We have a long list of topics that we talk about. And since Stu mentioned something, Gar mentioned something, I said, you know what? Mike and I discussed it, and we decided to incorporate it all into today's podcast. So, but we're not going to just discuss, MP3 versus hard copy or overplayed music. We're going to take it a little bit further. All right, and yes, radio does overplay music, but there are reasons why.
Boy, do they.
But there are reasons why. And of those overplayed songs, which ones would stand the test of time, or do stand the test of time? And
Or
the ones
have.
the ones that we're going to mention are the ones that we grew up listening to, because we won't know what's going to stand the test of time for the current songs that are being played right now. So we also want to talk about how the evolution of music, recorded music, is it music's demise? Okay, the recorded media, is it music's demise the way it's evolving? So I think they're good topics you guys wrote in. I appreciate it very much. Anybody else who wants to write in, will definitely bring your names up and talk about your ideas. So we welcome that. We do
Please
appreciate
do. Please do.
We appreciate you taking the time out and listening. So we thank you for that. All right, it's trivia time, Mike.
Yay.
We have a couple of questions. First one, I don't want to ask it. It's very hard for me to ask or word it a certain way because I don't want to give away the answer. But anybody who's played vinyl and CDs, and I know, Mike, you'll laugh at this, but when you put the needle on the record, when you put the needle on the record with vinyl, you put it on the outside and it plays in. That's all. So how are tracks recorded on CD and vinyl? Take that information, think about it, and we'll talk about the answer at the end of the show. Mike, you had a question?
There's no little question mark at the end of this question, Dom.
Still a question, though.
I guess. What was the first CD pressed in the United States of America? What was that CD?
I know the answer to that.
Cheater.
No, not a cheater. Just happen to know the answer.
Well, you wrote them.
All right. Today we're going to talk about music on the radio. Is it overplayed? Why is it overplayed? Is it necessary? Is there a way to control it? Mike, you are very passionate about this. I have a different stance. I try not to think about it as much as you do, but I'd like to hear what you're feeling inside. Maybe you want to lay down for a little while and talk to me?
I'll speak into the mic a bit. It's a sore subject only because I feel throughout the years and listening to so much music and so many bands and artists who labor over making a record, every song. I know there's no doubt that some bands just put filler on records. Can that be proven? No. Will an artist ever say it's a filler song? No. But I feel like at least we should try to check a whole record out when an artist. I get top 40 or pop radio. I understand how that works. It's all about promotion and listeners and advertising, and I get that. My peeve is more or less with the classic stations and the rock stations that just choose, especially if they have the ability to play anything that they want, which apparently from what you were saying, and we may touch on that later, they can, but it's like they'll choose an artist. We'll just use Billy Joel as an example, and play the same 3 or 4 or 5 songs from his enormous catalog over and over and over again. Occasionally they'll throw one, throw you a bone. They're like, oh wow, I haven't heard them play this song in a while. But I mean, with an artist like him, who has a tremendous back catalog, Elton John, the Beatles, Paul McCartney, the Eagles, the list goes on and on. They just choose the same 3 or 4 songs, and sometimes within an 8-hour period, you will hear the same song by one of those any given artists a number of times. Maybe twice in an 8-hour period, you'll hear Piano Man or a Beatles song, the same Beatles song in an 8-hour period. But that's where my problem lies. I understand top 40 and pop radio. I get that. you have those songs that they'll always hope will still do stand the test of time, no matter how many times they're played. But if a person is in the car an hour to work and an hour home from work every day and hears, the same songs going in and coming home, I would think, no matter how great a song is or how it stands the test of time, you eventually have to get tired and say, I wish they'd play a different song by this artist or, outside of top 40, obviously. That's what I think also. I feel like radio kind of dictates what they want you to hear and listen to, because even if an artist or a band has a number of great songs, say that an artist has 12 songs on a record and 2 or 3 are chosen as singles. If you don't buy the record or even give it a try, that's what you're being force fed. And that's my issue with radio. That's kind of even my issue with top 40 radio. I don't really venture too much into some of the artists that they play on top 40, but even take someone like Adele. 21 was great from front to back. Every song on the record is great, in my opinion. And Rolling in the Deep was shoved down the throats of everybody. And they even turned it into a dance song. So, I can go on and on. I won't keep ranting about it, but that's part of my issue outside of top 40, but even a little bit with top 40, because again, they will dictate what songs from the artist that they want you to hear. And I know they want the person to keep coming back and listening for that song and looking for it. But if you play track 2 off of Fall Out Boy's record over and over again in a 12-hour period, or you play track 8, either way, it would eventually burn into the listener's mind. And they're not going to be like, well, they're playing this song, I'm going to just turn this off right now. They may, but...
Well, but if they don't like track 8 and they like track 2, obviously, look, the way it works is the radio station gets the album, okay, and they're told, okay, this is a hit. Play track 4.
We want it to be a hit, or it's going to be a hit. We feel it's going to be a hit.
Play track 4.
Right.
Okay? They play track 4, it's a big hit. Now they may say, okay, you know what? Play track 7. Okay, back in the day, I think the way it worked, which was, back in the day, maybe there wasn't as many advertisements. I really think, though, it really is based more on ratings. I think it's all about ratings. You don't want a DJ's not going to waste time playing a song that's not a hit. He's not going to. He or she is not going to do that. They want the ratings. That's what it's all about.
But you know what, Tom? If you look at it, too, radio has kind of forced out a lot of stations. Remember years ago when we were younger, every turn of the dial was a different station that played either similar music, the same music, or different music. Now, XM, Sirius, whether they're combined or whatever, they force the hand, and now they're kind of pulling away a lot of stations and a lot of listeners, because people are, I think some of those people who subscribe to those digital stations, or even digital radio or satellite radio or even internet radio, are sick of it.
That's why there's the option
of
flipping the channel, putting on a CD. You're not locked in. You don't have one station. See, I understand what everybody's talking about. Everybody says it's overplayed. So you know what? This is what I do. If I like a song and I hear it on the radio, I listen to it. As soon as I buy the album, I stop listening to it on the radio.
Right.
I change the station. I'll tell you where radio kills music. Radio kills music the way it's recorded. The way it's compressed. I don't mean recorded. The way it's played. It's compressed.
Yep.
But I know why they do that.
MP3s are compressed.
But they're not compressed like radio.
Right, no, I know.
Okay, and the reason why is if you go from playing an album that was recorded years ago and the recording volume is different than what's recorded today, okay, the DJ can't sit there and start raising and lower the volume of every album. So they compress it where it's uniform across the board, where they're not raising and lowering the volume for every, especially look at classical music. There's a lot of dynamic range in classical music. You have your highs, you have your lows. You can't sit there, and it's actually annoying unless you have headphones on, but you're raising the volume at the low points and you're lowering at the high points. So radio does that, and they kill it. They kill the edges of the sound, and they just dampen it. And if you go, I remember listening to an Alice in Chains songs, and the band that I was in covered it, and I went right from that, right from the radio to a song. I forgot what the name of the song was. But when I was listening to it on the CD, it was so much more brighter. It just sounded so much better. It was raw. It was live, technically, if you want to call the word live recording.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, we didn't record tracks at a time. It was just a whole band playing. But that's where I think radio kills music.
I agree.
But I understand what everybody's saying, but you have to realize you have your top 40 stations, you have your classic stations, but it's all based on ratings. There's ratings called TSL, which is time spent listening. There's CUME, which is your average weekly audience. And those are both factors in calculating radio ratings. You know, your top 40 stations tend to, be more cume-based. They have a lot of people listening, okay? But they don't have a lot of people listening during a long stretch of time, okay? Your top 40, because I think you'd go crazy. Those are the people who are driving a half hour here, a half hour there, okay? But then you have your classic rock stations. Now, I don't mean just classic rock, but you have your classic stations, and I don't mean classical, or other formats. They may not have like a large, cume as like say a top 40, but their time spent listening is very long. Okay, whereas like let's just say you have an office, you sit in an office, you throw on some classic station, whether it's Billy Joel classic type style radio like pop music or classic rock. You put that on and you just leave it on in the background all day long. Okay, that's another style. That's the time spent listening ratings where there's not a lot of channel flipping. Top 40, stations are short spurts of listening, right? And there's a lot of channel flipping. You'll go from, I could say Z100. That's the local New York area. You have Z100. You have PLJ. Then you have 104.3, which is more of a classic rock. That station may play Billy Joel or The Who, but they may, instead of playing that one song 5 times, they'll play 5 different songs from that artist, maybe in a 24-hour period.
Even they're guilty, though.
No, look, they are.
But
you have to play the hits.
I know.
Okay, and that's why I say this to the people who really get frustrated about that. Turn it off. Listen to talk radio. Don't get all wrapped up into it.
Right. I know.
It is what it is. So we're going to get into it in a little bit. Overplayed music, and I'm always curious though. Out of the overplayed music, which ones stand the test of time? Which ones stand the test of time? And then also, of the ones that are overplayed, even if you took a break for 10 years and you didn't listen to it, can you turn it back on?
Yeah, certain songs, for sure. I would think there's a handful of, at least songs that we hear often on those stations you mentioned, that I mentioned, that as many times as I've heard them, and which it also makes me sound like a hypocrite, but at the same time, I'm also not listening to these stations, so when these songs do come on, and I've heard them a million times, I'm still into it because I don't sit for 8 hours or 5 or 6 or 7 hours a day listening to the same station. But I think there are definitely a handful of overplayed songs that are outstanding and will always stand the test of time, no matter how many times you hear them.
Now, some of the songs we're going to mention are songs that we grew up listening to because we really can't talk about the music today if it's going to stand the test of time.
Adele will.
Adele will. I think Justin Timberlake will be around for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know about stand the test of time because I don't think I don't listen to much pop radio, but I don't even know if pop radio gives him a lot of airplay.
They don't give him airplay, but you know what? I think out of the talent that's out there these days.
Oh yeah, he's definitely extremely talented. There's no doubt about it.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll last.
Right.
Because it's really what the audience wants. Okay.
It's also what they dictate, which is my issue.
I guess it is what it is. We can't control that.
Of course,
we can't fight City Hall. But
you know what, Tom? The subject is moot.
The subject is moot. Back in the day, though, DJs were, the way I understand it today, and it's evolved over the years, okay? Today, you don't want to roll the dice and say, let me play track 10. Nobody's ever heard it. Just because you like it.
But can they? That's just it.
From what I understand, they can.
Right.
Okay, they play large.
Is it true? That's my question.
No, I think it is. And if my research, is correct, I think it is. They pay a large fee and a large sum of money to, let's just say, ASCAP and BMI, so that it allows them to play any song that they want to. With that being said, though, will they roll the dice? I don't know.
Probably not.
We got to realize.
They can't afford to.
If you're going to start playing B-side songs or non-hit songs, are you putting your job on the line, though?
Right, but...
You know what I'm saying? Like, because if you don't have the listeners because you're rolling the dice because you want to hear and you want to promote... Back in the day, though,
70s, I think they could have. They may have gotten away with that.
70s, I think some of those DJs, let's just say at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, they may have played a whole album.
Right.
Maybe they just wanted to go to sleep.
They played all of 2112.
Maybe they did. So... Back then, maybe you could have gotten away with that. Today, it's about ratings.
But I don't know, man. I feel that if you play a song, any given song off of a record, at some point it will get because now to me, if you look at, let's just go back to Adele 21. I want to try to still let people understand that it's not just rock. You take "Rumor Has It," which is not probably my least favorite song on the record, and I like the whole record. I did since the day it was released. They played that song enough where it became a hit. And I think it's the weakest song on the record. So I think, yeah.
You know, it's funny because, like I said, as soon as those albums came out, I loved them, listened to them. As soon as I got them, I never, like, I won't listen to Hello.
Oh, me neither, yeah.
I also, you know why?
It ruins the album for you.
No,
The
I'll tell you.
experience.
No, what I'll do is I'll say, you know what? I need to be at a different place in time to listen to this. I want to put the headphones on. I want to just sit back and I just want to crank it and listen to her. In the car, I don't necessarily want to listen to Hello, so I'll switch, to something else. But you have that option. You have the option now with CDs in your cars. Okay, you have satellite radio, and you have different stations. I had satellite for a little while, and it is very addicting. The only thing is you get like so many stations, you just don't know what to listen to.
Right.
But you do flip a lot.
It's like watching cable. Just switch the channels when commercial comes on, but whatever. It's, again...
Now, we've gone, and we're going to spin into digital media in a little bit, but since we're on the track of, no pun intended.
Let's stay on the train.
Stay on the train of overplayed music. We have a list of a ton of songs, and we're not going to read them all out. We're going to read, like, just say the top 10 or so. You have Stairway to Heaven.
A classic.
By Led Zeppelin. You have Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Hotel California by the Eagles. Old Time Rock and Roll by Bob Seger.
I want to stop you for a second. I did notice, however, in the Don't Stop Believin' Journey, in your notes, you wrote that it was covered by Glee.
Yeah, Glee covered.
I think you like that version better.
No, I don't. In fact, it's funny because the other day I'm driving in the car and I got the kids, and we played Michael Jackson's Smooth Criminal, and Glee covered that song. And, of course, my kids like the Glee version.
Of course.
It's what they're growing up listening to. Just like, although I like doo-wop, okay? But I liked my music when I was growing up.
Of course.
Better than I liked my parents' music. I'm trying to get my kids into the classic rock and I don't mean just classic rock, but classic music. Let's just use classic music. I'm trying to get them to listen to that, but there's only so much I can do.
No, you can't force it in their throat.
But before you said, if you keep playing it over and over again, if you get ingrained? No, because you can hear a horrible song over and over again. You're going to hate it even more. I don't know if you can get somebody to like something. If I play Run DMC for you right now, King of Rock, over and over again, are you going to like it? No, I don't think.
I always did like it.
Well, that's because it had guitar in it. But
Run DMC was one of my...
Okay, take Dana Dane.
Let's stay on the train.
Okay, so, yes, Glee covered it. We played Smooth Criminal. They picked Glee's version. One of my kids, Journey, Don't Stop Believin', she liked Journey. The other one liked Glee.
Right. No.
I'm not picking Glee. Talented kids, don't get me wrong, great vocals. I'm not taking anything away from them.
I was just kidding.
But, so you got American Pie by Don McLean, Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen, Jump Van Halen,
Oh, man.
and Rock and Roll Night by Kiss. And I'm surprised we don't have an Elton John song, but that's okay. Piano Man by Billy Joel.
I was also surprised, but...
What, Billy Joel?
Elton John song, yeah, because he's equivalent to Billy Joel, in my opinion.
Yeah, all right, so you could pick anything by him. Pick Philadelphia Freedom.
God, no.
All right.
One of my least favorite songs by him.
Island Girl?
Another one of my least favorites.
Okay, but there's a lot of different
Daniel's
songs.
song.
Daniel's song is a great song.
That's a great song, man.
You know what song is awesome by him, but we're going off the topic? I love Tiny Dancer, 60 Years On.
Yes.
Great.
I'm going to pull you back on the train again.
All right, so.
I got you.
Stairway to Heaven, Don't Stop Believin', Hotel California, Old Time Rock and Roll, American Pie, Piano Man, Rock and Roll All Night, Jump, Born in the USA.
You forgot one that I had picked, but which is probably my number one, stands the test of time.
Well, what is it?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's right. You know what? I did. In fact, that was only 9. So that's 10. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Now, you guys, everybody out there can pick who they like.
Write
write
into us.
Definitely write in.
Give us your list.
Yeah, give us your list of, and they may not even be the same as ours, but give us your list.
Even if it's newer music. Let's hear your list of what you think will stand the test of time.
We have a little less than 70 songs, and we could have gone even further, but just, we're only picking 10. So out of those 10 songs, I'll tell you mine right now, I cannot listen to Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. I think if I hear it, I'd have to run away, jump in a pool, stay underwater for the 3 minutes that it is, or literally pull the plug on the DJ's booth. I can't listen to that song. The Jump by Van Halen is another song. I could tolerate it a little bit. It's a great song, but...
I'll tolerate for the solo.
Yes, the solo and Jump, and also the hook, the keyboards. You know, that's what makes it. But I just can't really at this point. Born in the USA.
Yeah, I can't do
Okay,
that song.
those are the three least. And then rock and roll. I'm sorry, old time rock and roll by Bob Seger.
Never was a big fan of that song anyway.
It's a good party song. You play it, you know, you play it at parties. You know, you listen to it. It's good. It's a fun song. New Year's Eve, you know, you hear it. It's all good. But you know what? There's only so much you could hear it. But then you get into Stairway to Heaven, Don't Stop Believin', Hotel California, Bohemian Rhapsody, and American Pie.
And Piano Man.
And Piano Man. 6. Those are 6 songs. Which ones do you like?
For me, if you ask me to pick 3 or 4 of them, I won't go on and on. I'd have to stick with obviously Piano Man. Being a big Billy Joel fan, it's just lyrically, musically, it'll always stand the test of time. I don't know.
It's that type of song.
It is. And all my choices are going to be longer songs, but I feel like those reasons, obviously being a prog fan, obviously I'm always going to lean towards longer songs, but Stairway to Heaven, I love Stairway to Heaven because it's got a lot of changes, it builds up a mood, it sets a mood and then changes. Same thing with Hotel California, that solo at the end, I mean, as a guitar player too, it just rips. And Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, who else out there, present, past, and I'll even say future, sounds like Queen? No band has even tried to sound like Queen. And they're not one of my very, very favorites, but I mean, give it to them. Give it to them.
No, you have to.
Listen to that song. Who else sounded like that at the time? No one can pull that off.
Yeah, I think Don't Stop Believin' by Journey is also great.
Great
Song. Journey is one of my favorite bands.
Me
so
too.
it's very hard for me to say, even with the overplayed music that they you know, I mean, they're probably one of the biggest bands.
Steve Perry.
Steve Perry, yeah, those are great vocals right there.
That'll be another podcast.
Yep, vocalists will be another podcast coming up very soon.
Stay tuned.
I'm thinking Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California, Bohemian Rhapsody, but you can't discredit American Pie.
I know.
American Pie may not have the music, what's the word?
Musicality to it?
I guess musicality. It doesn't have the music background. It's more lyrical.
Right,
It's a story. I mean, it's a story.
It's a
Bob
great
McLean.
story.
So it's, I read an article. It was very interesting. It was a good article. They asked, I guess, Don McLean, how do you feel about American Pie? And he says, it's just, you know, what does American Pie mean to you? He says, it means that I don't have to work another day in my life.
That is a perfect answer.
Now, I'm not
couldn't have
quoting
answered
him.
it better.
I don't know if I'm quoting him or I'm just paraphrasing, but he basically doesn't have to work another day in his life because he made that song American Pie.
Either way, he doesn't have to work
No, he doesn't have to
another
work.
day in his life.
It's a tremendous song. But those to me, and I know Mike, those are the ones that stand the test of time. There's tons out there. You know, what is yours? You know, what is your stand the test of time songs for you? There's a ton out there, and
Write in, won't you?
we'd like to hear them. So let's talk about the evolution of recorded media. You know, Gar had mentioned he wanted to know our opinion on, I guess, media on CD versus MP3. Why is everybody so fascinated with MP3s or, you know, audio files? And so let's talk about it. Growing up, me and you, had very, very little 8-track. We had cassettes. So cassettes, but let's just say with
Mostly
cassettes,
vinyl. We started with vinyl, I would say, no?
cassettes and vinyl.
Yeah.
Okay, you had cassettes and you had vinyl. Okay, and then we had mentioned this on the pilot. I never really liked to buy cassettes. I always liked to buy the album, buy the vinyl, make my own tape, and then if that ever broke, just re-record it.
Right.
Okay, that's the way I liked it. Plus, it didn't warp.
I still do that from a car copy and CD.
So I mean, I'll get the CD. I make because at least, well, this is with CDs though. It's not going to warp in the sun.
Well, I just gave away the fact that I'm driving an older car, too.
It's not going to be where, you know, you got your tape sitting on your dashboard and it's going to warp in the sun. All right, so growing up, that's what we had. Today, kids today don't have that. Okay, it's in the cloud for them.
Yeah.
Okay? My kids know what CDs are, but that's as far back as they go. Back when I was a kid, I had the Muppet movie on soundtrack. I had Dynasty by Kiss. What was bad about those? You couldn't rewind. You were stuck listening to them. Okay? With records, even with vinyl, okay, you could skip your track, just a little bit more labor intensive, but you also had nothing to compare it to because it was a lot easier than fast forwarding trying to listen to the Chipmunks talk really fast, like when you
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see when you got that break in the song and then you go to the next song. Okay, so the records was a lot easier. Cassettes was tough, and then obviously with the CDs, you have the tracks, and you could advance. You remember growing up? You remember doing all that stuff? I remember when I first recorded songs off radio. I would hold the cassette player by a speaker, or I would put it on like a shelf and record the song. Stand by the staircase. If anybody started coming down, I'd make motion like, "Don't say anything. I'm recording a song." But I remember recording "Eye of the Tiger," and my friend's dog started barking right at the beginning of the song. And anytime I heard that song on the radio or after that, I always just envisioned, like I just had a mental audio,
Ingrained in your brain.
it's ingrained, but it was also like a flashback. I could hear the dog barking.
Yeah. Well, it's that noise, yeah.
Then you could record on the radio. So what's your feeling? What's your take? I know that you also not a big fan of. Look, you have to realize the evolution of music is changing. You have to.
Oh, of course.
You can't fight it. I know
I'm not stuck in the past. You know that.
We talked about this on the pilot. Okay, recording on different types of media, even with ebooks. Everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, because there are a lot of people, majority or not, I don't know the percentage. People still want to hold a book.
Yep.
Okay, they want the hard copy. They want to be able to flip the pages. They want to be able to smell the new book. Same thing with comic books. Some people are switching over to the digital format. It's evolution. Some people I don't want to store 1,000 comics in my attic.
Right. That's
Okay.
what it comes down to.
I
Storage.
don't mind having them on the media. I can take them with me if I want to read them. But I personally, when it comes to books, I can go either way. Comics, I don't really read too much. I have a couple. But when it comes to CDs, I still want to hold it.
Yep.
I still want to hold it. I want to review the liner notes. I don't necessarily need to smell it.
I think it's what brought vinyl back.
Vinyl, you know what? I don't know why vinyl came back. I don't know.
I know why.
It came back for collectors. I think people just. I set
It's
up.
also the purest audio.
It's the purest
form of
audio.
audio.
Okay, it is okay, and I can't say that's debatable. All right, because it's
It's proven, I believe.
yes, which we're not going to get into.
No.
But the people buying them. Have you ever seen what turntables cost?
Oh, I know.
I have a turntable from the '80s that I'm playing with. Okay, I took out my vinyl the other day.
I mean, you can get one for $100, which is expensive, obviously, but
Have you
still.
ever seen them for $10,000 and $20,000?
Oh, I've seen them. They make turntables apparently that work off a laser. You don't even need a needle anymore.
Okay,
That are like $2-3 grand.
So you really think I'm going to be able to hear the difference with my 1980s turntable versus a CD? I don't know, and I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh no, I hear that." It doesn't matter.
But
I don't think the music people today. I think the audiophiles care, and those audiophiles are.
well, collectors too, as you said. But I think all collectors are always going to go after physical copies because they want to hold it in their hand. And that's what a lot of them. That's what they grew up with. If you see younger people, I see a lot of younger people within the local record store that I go to in New Jersey. A lot of people who are 10 or 15 years younger than me who are into vinyl because it's the type of music to listen to. If it's offered on vinyl and they like the vinyl and they're being told that vinyl is better, and they're collectors, then they're going to buy vinyl. You know, I started buying vinyl myself too because I did enjoy it, but it became too expensive because I still wanted a CD.
I think it's a fad right now. I think it's just the in thing to do.
But think about it, records never really went out. They were always there.
They were, but not to this volume, not to
No,
this
yeah,
magnitude.
yeah,
I mean,
no.
this is almost like what it was when we were kids. Almost.
Yeah, it's
Not
close.
Barnes and Noble sells them now. Everybody's selling vinyl.
I think the only thing that keeps Barnes & Noble open is Starbucks.
It very well could. I love going into that store. I would love to support them. Who knows how long they'll be around. Hopefully they're around forever. But I still think that the vinyl today is. But the thing is, who wants to spend $25 on an album they already have? You put on.
Well, you have a lot of people out there who stop buying CDs because the vinyl's available now. See, in the old days, you were forced to buy CDs because, say, your favorite band, you only had your choice of CD. Now you have a choice of CD and vinyl. More people are probably choosing vinyl over CD now.
Where's it going to go?
That's a good question.
The reason why I say that is today I don't have that kind of time to sit in my house and put on a record and listen to it, 5 songs. Next thing you know, the record's going back. I fall asleep and it stops.
Well, that's why I'm sure
lot of
there's a
times-
demographic for vinyl.
But you can, okay. So now you have, but the ease of just having a digital copy.
I understand.
You know, you're working out, you're riding the bike, you're riding the treadmill, you're taking a walk,
On an iPod.
you're driving. Okay, what are you doing? Now, obviously, the people who are buying the album, the vinyl, they're not recording it on CD.
You don't have a record player in your trunk?
I don't have a record player in my trunk.
Oh.
It's on my roof.
It's a good place for it.
Yeah. So, are these people, what are they doing? Those are people who are just listening to it, I guess, for the sake of whatever it is. And I'd like to get into why people are buying vinyl, to see what's the thought process behind it.
Right.
I don't understand it. I'm trying to figure it out. But
Another reason to write into us.
if you're out there and you're buying vinyl these days, please write in. I would love to hear why you're buying vinyl. I just don't get it because my car radio has a slot for an SD card. Right now I have 7,000 songs, and that's not even half my library on the card. I can listen to anything. It's on shuffle right now. So it's basically one big radio station. Okay, and it's just flipping from wherever. It went from Frank Sinatra to Royal Hunt to Jim Croce.
Don't forget Glee.
To Glee. But that's the nice part about it, the evolution.
Right
in. You would buy cassettes, singles. I mean, like a friend of mine at work, he's got play tapes. I don't know if you know what a play tape is. It's similar to like an 8-track. It's a little bit smaller. It had 2 tracks on one side, 2 tracks on the other. I've never used it. I've never even seen it. I've seen a picture of it. But it's almost like a cassette single, like a 45, or even a 12-inch.
A big 12-inch single.
A 12-inch single. Okay, you got it, you played it, and that was it. It was just one big loop. But today, to me, the ease of buying a song. Now, I personally, you know what I think the big demise of music is? Greatest hits albums. How many bands, Kiss, probably one of the biggest, at least in my collection, how many greatest hits albums are they going to make? Why do people keep buying them? How many different copies of Detroit Rock City do you need to hear? And Love Gun? And Deuce and Strutter.
Well, they keep marketing it to a new audience, or at least hope they are. Like, and they'll just put a different cover on the same greatest hits album.
But that's my point.
Right.
That to me ruins. I'll tell you what I love about albums. To me, take all of your greatest hits, throw them out the door. Take every Billy Joel, Elton John, Journey, Rush, and every artist out there. Okay? Take all their popular songs, all their radio hits, throw them out. Listen to all the other songs you've never heard before.
You know who I did that with? Kansas. And man, did I discover an absolutely fantastic band outside of Dust in the Wind and Carry On My Wayward Son.
That's what's great. That's what's great about music. To me, that's the point where I'm at in my life.
Right.
Okay, and that's what I like about the whole digital aspect of it. You could program CDs to play certain tracks. You could just make playlists.
Well, yeah, playlists are greatest hits, though.
I still want the CD in my hand.
Right.
I still want to have the CD player. Right now, I'm trying to hold on to as many Blu-ray players as possible.
Well, if you're going to put your hard-earned money out, don't you want something, to show for it? I mean, obviously that mentality's going out the window with digital media, kind of.
I don't know if it's a mentality. I think the technology is going out the window.
Right. It affords for you to not have to worry about having a physical copy taking up space in your house. And that's why the few independent CD stores out there have loads and loads and loads of used discs, because people are even people who used to like to collect and still probably would love to have a physical copy in their hand don't want to have to store it anymore. They just start selling everything and putting it onto their iPods and their computers and their hard drives.
I have 2 crates of records from my own collection since I'm a kid.
And you love putting the needle on them, don't you?
I love putting the needle on the record. I also have crates and record cases of my father's albums.
Right.
I don't even know what's in them. Or I know where they are, but I have no desire to play them.
Right.
I don't have that kind of time.
I have something in my mind. I'm going to be honest with you. Some new stuff that I have.
So my kids are going to get my CDs, and they're going to be like, look at this crap.
Nah.
Now what am I going to do with it?
They're not going to get them, bro. They're not going to care.
No, what I'm saying is it's going to be stuck in my attic somewhere or stuck in a closet somewhere. They're going to be like, oh, we got to throw out Daddy's music.
How do you think they're going to feel about my collection?
They're going to have to back the truck in. They're going to have to back the truck in.
Get a pod.
Get a pod and just start throwing out.
It's a joke, people.
No, it's not. He's got a lot of CDs. He's got a lot of CDs, so don't let him kid you. So that's the whole point. Now, I personally am at the point in my life now where I want to listen to the artist's non-popular music and really listen to it.
Yep.
Put the headphones on and just sit back. I wish I had more time. I don't like listening to music in the car, although it's always on, except when I'm on the phone. It's always on. I have to listen to music But to me, it's not the same listening experience as listening through it through headphones. But I do not mind the technology. I would love to support, an artist and buy the whole album, but it's just not going that way.
It's not, yeah, I know. Well, I'm hoping there's at least a 70-30 where artists will still give you that option, even if they just say print X amount of hard copies to offer for the people who still want them. You know what I'm saying? Not just completely abolish the idea of a hard copy, because there's some artists out there who print their own stuff, but instead of wasting their money, they'll say limited to 100 copies. And once those 100 copies are sold out,
How are you gonna get your hands on one of 100 copies of a Billy Joel song?
oh no, I'm talking about like the more
Just in-
independent, I'm talking about. But the bigger artists, they're obviously going to print, because let me tell you something, the money they're making off of these bigger artists, CDs are pennies to that in comparison.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can guarantee you, like the old days, say Thriller came out and they had to press 50 million copies of it on CD, or just say record in '83. Let's not. Nowadays, if an artist like Taylor Swift puts a CD out, I don't think she's printing 10 million. I think the record company's only going to print X amount, and then when
When they stop.
when it starts to sell out, they may have some on the back burner to distribute again.
Well, and then getting back to the point of, I guess, music just playing the hits. They don't play the deeper cuts, the deeper tracks. That's the shame about it. That's why That's why I listen to. It's almost like finding a new artist. It's almost saying, like, you know what? I mean, I have so many CDs that are, of Journey or whoever it is I'm listening to, Kiss or whatever. I'm only going to listen to certain songs. I'm not going to listen to the other songs. So now I'm putting in those albums and I'm listening to. If it's like Stairway to Heaven, I'm skipping it. Not because I don't like the song. No, I want to hear something else.
Right.
But that was where, I guess, when you're a kid, you'd make that mixtape, not only for your girlfriend, but for yourself, too.
Everyone had them.
Yeah.
And even still now, that's what a playlist is. The playlist is a mixtape, Dom.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
It's just a digital format. It's a mixtape on digital media. I like it. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, I think the sound quality. I do use a headphone amplifier, into my headphones. I don't listen to it straight out of like an iPod or an iPad.
Only the hardcore audiophiles are going to notice it, or even care that much. I mean, that's really the ones who are going to. And I'm not going to argue that point. It is what it is. If you take it or you leave it. Digital media it's here. It's going to be here forever. And my hopes that they'll never stop giving you the option. That's it.
You know what? If you look at history, there's no more 8-tracks, although there's vinyl.
Right. Well, it's evolution though.
Yeah. Cassettes are not coming back. 8-tracks aren't coming
Cassettes
back.
are coming back slowly.
Where?
I don't know, because it's basically just a nostalgic fad.
I never seen a cassette.
FAD.
No.
And
I mean, I've seen cassettes. I have a ton of them over there.
no, but I'm saying newer. Well, in my searching, certain metal bands will still put out for fun a limited run of cassettes, and they're not $5 either. They're charging $12 and $13 for them. But I don't get it, because who's going on eBay and buying a 1990 Sony Walkman to play it on?
You know how much that record, that turntable was in Barnes & Noble? $198.
Right.
I mean, but now you could buy the turntables now, that USB to your computer, and now you could burn or rip it to your hard drive.
And that's why vinyl's still holding on as strong as it is, because you still can do that. You could still put that vinyl onto your iPod.
Now, this is a question for you. Let's say there's no more CDs in the world. There's no more hard copy. Are you going to buy, and I'm not talking about Dream Theater, are you going to buy the album? And like I said, not Dream Theater or
Joey Satriani.
Are you going to buy the album, or are you going to buy just... So when you could buy on iTunes, you could buy an album, 10 songs. Are you going to buy the album, or are you going to sample it and only buy the ones you like?
I mean, when it comes to a lot of the music that I like, I really don't have an issue with most of the songs. Occasionally, a band will have a clunker or two of the bands that I listen to. But again, the majority of the bands I listen to are not putting fillers, because they're putting out quality for their fans, because they know that's all they have. They're not getting world tours or radio play, so they have to appease the fans and have to put quality, not quantity.
Well, but I know what you're saying. But an artist may put out a bad album. You know what I'm saying? You won't know.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course. That's why what's good about sampling.
Well, but even with sampling, if I like a band, there's no hard copy anymore. There's no hard material. It's all digital. I'm supporting the artist. I'm buying the whole album.
I agree. I would too. What choice do we have?
No, I want to. I want to support them. I want to buy the whole thing. I want to be able to listen to. I want to be able to listen to the music, not just listen to the hit song. I want to hear it all.
Right. I agree. I've always, but that was my argument before.
And when I noticed it was back listening to Huey Lewis and News. I'm a big Huey Lewis fan. And the News, great band. Walking on a Thin Line was a tremendous song. Didn't know it even existed because I was just listening to the popular songs. Heart and Soul, I Want a New Drug. All those songs. I hear Walking on a Thin Line. That's all I listened to. It was over and over again. And that's when I started to realize, even back then though, you know what? There's a lot of good music out there that we're not listening to.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the sad part about why radio overplays music. I understand why they do it, but you know what? Get the album, listen to it, and listen to what the artist has to offer. That's what I like to do.
I agree.
So now, that was a long one.
Yeah, Vinny and Quiz are telling us to wrap it up.
Yes. All right, Vinny, Quiz, we're going to wrap this up.
Take it easy.
We have the segment of the show now where we announce the artist of the podcast. I'm going to go first. I'm going to make it quick. I'm on a little bit of a jazz run here. The last time I mentioned Morgan James, big jazz singer, great vocals. I'm going to stick with the jazz this time. I'll switch it up next time. Ariana Savalas, born January 9th, 1987 in Los Angeles. She is a jazz musician, singer, songwriter with nice, mature, soothing vocals. Now, I use the word nice. You remember my grandfather? Okay.
Nice.
He would always say to us, to all the grandkids, how about a nice pizza? How about I order a nice pizza? Gramps, even if you just ordered a pizza, but he threw the word, I would always say yes to pizza. He would just throw the word nice in it, and it just made it sound that much better. So, Ariana Savalas, she has nice, mature, soothing vocals. Really, really just great. You want to sit back and just listen. It's really, really nice. She attended the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. She studied Shakespeare and acting. At the beginning of her career, she toured as a pop singer. Before switching to jazz, she did a little acting in some independent movies. She was on CBS's Criminal Minds. She's got an album out from 2014 called Sophisticated Lady. She worked with Postmodern Jukebox. She worked with Morgan James and a bunch of other artists. And yes, she is Telly Savalas' daughter. And she's good. She's good.
That was my next question.
That was?
Was there any relation to the late, great Kojak, Telly Savalas?
Yes, that's his daughter.
Who loves you, baby? Dominic does.
So, Mike.
My pick this week is a band that I feel everyone should listen to. They have 3.5 records, one of them being an EP. I believe they're from New York. I could be wrong. I don't do the deep research that Dominic does. I don't have any of their date of births. The Reign of Kindo, REIGN of KINDO. They're a little bit rock, they're a little bit jazz, and they're a lot of bit great. So I feel like this is a band.
A lot of bit great?
A lot of bit great. Yeah.
All right.
People should definitely check them out. I saw them live. They have the goods live. They have the good songwriting wise, and please listen to them. It's definitely worth you checking out. The Reign of Kindo. Any of their records are great.
All right, well, definitely will. Listen to them or check them out. We're at the point now to give you the answers to our trivia questions. And since I asked the first question, I'll give you the answer. Basically, the way the record is burned or recorded, the tracks are recorded from the outside in, from the outer edge in. The needle plays from the outer edge in. CDs are burned from the laser basically plays the CDs from the inside out. So if you ever rip or ever burn a CD, just burn one track. And when you turn it over and you just see that little tiny ring that looks like it was edged in there, it's on the inside. Why do you need to know that? Why did I ask that question? I just thought it was kind of just something trivial that, maybe you'd want to know. But the tracks, basically you listen to the tracks on CDs from the laser reads it from the inside out and records from the outside in. You could take that piece of information, store it in that brain where that section where you have useless information, just keep it there for a while until somebody asks you. And then you could say, hey, I heard that on the Subject Is Mood podcast.
That's right.
You heard it here first. Mike?
The very first CD published in the United States of America was Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA in 1984.
Now,
Time out.
wait, no, I know where you're going to go after that. That's fine, you can. But Born in the USA, first CD,
Apropos.
absolutely.
Definitely. And
You wanted to say something after that. I interrupted you, so go ahead, continue.
FYI, people, the first disc ever released in the world was Billy Joel's 52nd Street in the year of our Lord, 1982, in Japan.
Yep. Piece of trivia.
Imagine that.
Piece of trivia there for everybody there. You could store it in the brain, that little useless information section. I have one, and it's overfilled with junk. But ask me the question that I'm just dying for. I remember when I was a kid, I just remember that the speed of light was 186,000 miles per second.
Because you were a nerd.
And that was the only thing that I really remembered.
Oh.
And I just couldn't wait for somebody to ask me that question. Finally, when the person asked the question when I was in class, the teacher said, "What's the speed of light?" She didn't even finish the question, and I shouted out the answer. I felt like I was free. I was able to get that stored energy, that stored information, and I just shouted it out.
Our good listeners should know you were 30 years old when that happened.
I wasn't 30. I wasn't 30. Anyway, it was a long one. We hope you enjoyed it. Write in. The subject is moot@yahoo.com. I am Dom, and across from me is...
Still, Mike.
And we're out.